Well, good morning, everybody. All right. Well, I am Dr. Meeker. I am the principal of this lovely school, and it is a pleasure to welcome Dallas ISD Superintendent Stephanie Elizalde, Board of Trustees President Joe Carrione, Commissioner Mike Morath, and everyone else of our dignitaries to the newly A-rated Walnut Hill International Leadership Academy. We are deeply honored that you choose our school to be a part of this tour. And like our district's theme, we are proud to continue building a legacy in every classroom here at Walnut Hill International Leadership Academy, or WILLA, as we call it around here. But our journey didn't just begin this year. WILLA stands as a school that rose from the ashes of two schools that were torn down by a tornado and 6 years ago. And we carry that forward with a rich tradition of excellence representing the Thomas Jefferson community. We are a trilingual campus learning in Spanish, English, and Mandarin. Hopefully we'll get to walk and see Miss Song say ni hao. That's all I got, guys. I'm sorry. And a few other things. We follow the Leader in Me curriculum, which equips our students with leadership skills and habits that we instill every single day for our kids from pre-K 3 all the way through 8th grade. So we got 11 age groups here, guys. It's great. At Walnut Hill, we spark curiosity in our students and open their minds to the beauty and wonder of learning. We're committed to offering students the opportunity to pursue the highest level of academics here at all levels. Today, we are delighted to share both WILLA's and Dallas ISD's accomplishments with you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Board President Joe Carrione.
Can we give another round of applause to our great principal, Principal Meeker? Yes? Okay. Thank you all so much for being here with us this morning. It is a great day, right? It is a great day when we can celebrate the academic growth of our young people. My name is Joe Carrione, and I have the very special privilege of serving as president of the Dallas ISD School Board. With me are my colleagues, Trustee Dan Mitchke, Trustee Lance Curry, and Trustee Sarah Weinberg. Any other of my colleagues here with us? I think not yet, but I think some more will join us here momentarily. Again, thank you. It's on behalf of this board that I would just want to express so much gratitude to many people. First and foremost, I want to express some gratitude to our educators. Right, we're here to celebrate amazing academic growth. And that doesn't happen without our teachers, right? We say it time and again. We know both by evidence, but also from our own experience, that there is no more important person than the person at the front of the classroom that's really educating our kids, that's doing that work. And so to our educators in this building and beyond Dallas, and here in Dallas ISD, throughout Dallas ISD, thank you so much for your work. Also, I want to acknowledge, thank you, Commissioner Morath. You are an alumni of this board. And so we are honored that you are here with us. There are over 1,000 school districts that are here in the great state of Texas, and a very big state, from El Paso to Brownsville to Del Rio, all the way to Texarkana. But you have decided to be with us today on this first day that we publicly announce this official data. So it is a great honor that you have here with us. Also to our community, I want to thank our community for being strong partners with us in this work. I think a big part of this work has to do with the fact that we are extremely focused and committed, and that we have goals, right? And it's not always the most fun thing to talk about, but it's core to the success that you're seeing here in Dallas ISD, the fact that we have goals and the fact that we have a committed community. Over the last year, we've gone to refreshing our goals, and community members showed up. And not only did they show up to these meetings to kind of provide input, but they were extremely thoughtful, extremely insightful, and they really helped us focus so we can really focus our energies and resources on the things that matter most, and we can grow our kids. And then lastly, but not least importantly, of course, is thank you to Dr. Elizalde and the team, the administrative team here in Dallas ISD. Thank you for your leadership and for your guidance. I say it, I've been saying it because it's, for us to start off as my opinion, I would say Dr. Elizalde is the best superintendent in the state of Texas and the country. Start off as my opinion, it is soon here going to be fact. The numbers don't lie, it is a fact, right? And so it is with that that I would like to now welcome the best superintendent in the United States, Dr. Stephanie Elizalde.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for taking time to be here. Buenos días. Gracias por llegar a la escuela, Walnut Hill International Leadership Academy. We're very excited. When the commissioner called and asked, I don't think he finished his statement. He said, I'll be releasing, yes. And he's like, I haven't finished. I'm like, it's yes. To be able to showcase the work that has been done by our entire community. Certainly want to echo the fact that at the ground level, literally boots on the ground, which is our theme for this year, are our teachers and our campus leaders and our support teams. So whether they're keeping on lights or whether they're making sure water is running or whether they're the first classroom that picks up our students, because for many students, the bus is the first classroom and the driver is their first teacher, or our cafeterias may be the first part of the day. So all of our team members have made this possibility. This occurred because of everyone's work. We have internal and external stakeholders. We have partners who pour in an aligned way. Sometimes people want to help us and they're like, we're here to help. And then you have to go, okay, what is it that you want to do? We're very fortunate that our partners meet with us and collaborate with us. We learn from them, they learn from us, which is why those partnerships are so important. That alignment is key. We are absolutely led by a fearless, courageous, and extremely focused board of trustees, and I am honored to be able to serve this board, the Dallas ISD board, who absolutely should be nominated as the outstanding board of the year, and we will prepare that packet, Dr. Lear, because this board needs to be nominated for that. And I just want to take an opportunity, truly feeling privileged that this doesn't happen overnight. And it is a culmination of dedication that has occurred from previous boards to the current board, of staying focused on what matters. Effort is good, results are required. So we don't get points because we try hard. We have to get results because those results are our children, our future leaders. And we get to do this work. And I tell our team, the day we get up and say we have to go to work, as opposed to we get to do this work, we might need to rethink whether that's the role we need to continue in. Because there are a lot of people who would love to have an impact on the future of our community. We actually get to have that impact. I do want to just highlight a few things. I know the commissioner is going to talk a lot about our ratings. Love it or don't love it, it is what it is. And so we don't get to pick. I often remind myself, democracy is very messy. And I think I'm going to misstate it, the quote, but I think it's Churchill that said democracy was terrible except for all other forms of government. So I think we'll take democracy, which means we're supposed to not always agree. And we can model those areas of non-agreement in an agreeable way. And we can also be very united and focused on what matters and student outcomes. And when we say all, we mean all in Dallas ISD in all caps. And our data demonstrates that that's what's happening. It's not a thought. It's an outcome, and it's a continuous move towards those outcomes. And so being able to take a moment, there's always going to be time to say there's more work to be done. Today, I hope we allow our entire community to focus on what's accomplished. And so to that end, the fact that we will have 93% of all the schools in Dallas ISD will be an A, a B, or a C. 93%. Will be an A, a B, or a C. And nearly 72% of all our schools are an A or a B. We doubled A's from 30 to 60 and had almost a 50% increase in B's from 71 to 103. Yes, I've memorized those numbers. They are going to be imprinted on my mind. So I am very, very honored that the commissioner chose Dallas ISD to discuss where the state is as a whole, and particularly to Dr. Meeker and to the Walnut Hill International Leadership Academy community. I want to thank them for welcoming us. This is a wonderful facility. I love coming to visit here. And what a great place from the tornado days. And some of us were here then too. Our chief of operations, David Bates, called me that night. He has me on the phone and we're on FaceTime. He goes, I can't see, but I think Carrie's gone. And that wasn't the movie, for those people who know what that was. But it's surreal right now to remember, David, that night and what we now have for our community. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Commissioner of Education, Mike Morath.
Thank you, Dr. Elizalde. Thank you, members of the Dallas ISD Board of Trustees, at least one of whom I actually served alongside many moons ago. For those that don't know, board service is unpaid in the state of Texas, and it is not for the faint at heart. The work of molding eager young minds is, in fact, the most important work that we can do. When you judge a civilization by how well it supports its young people. And what you have in Dallas is something pretty extraordinary. You have year in, year out, this relentless focus on improving the lives of hundreds of thousands of kids. And that happens because a group of people are committed to putting the needs of students above themselves and achieving that. I am honored to be here today. Bring greetings from Governor Abbott, from the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker. They, as you might well know, are very busy today in Austin. But this is a great celebration. I want to thank State Board of Education member Brandon Hall for being here as well. The work that we do in public schools in Texas is the most important work that we do in the state and in the country. And it really starts actually with a belief system. In Texas, we believe it is a moral, original, core part of our fabric in this state. We believe that all children can learn and achieve at high levels. And when we say all, we actually do mean all. We don't care whether you're living here in the big city of Dallas or in Little Dumas up in the Panhandle or anywhere in between, regardless of where you live, regardless of what you look like or your family circumstances. That when you come to our schools, that we will pour all of our love and our skill into you so that you become the best versions of yourself. And if we do our job right as adults, that every child can succeed and can achieve at a high level. It is a moral belief system. And fundamentally, when we're here today to talk about the A through F system, that is what it is. It is a representation of how well we as adults have provided an education to our young people. This is a moral commitment that is actually codified in multiple aspects of state law and public policy. Because when we say that we believe that all children can learn and achieve at high levels, we get very specific about what that means. I'm a dad of 4 kids, and one of them happens to be in third grade. And third graders in Texas, we believe that all of them, by the end of third grade, should have their times tables memorized. This is an aspect of that belief system. And much more than just that in terms of reading and writing and math and science and social studies, knowledge of history. The State Board of Education codifies these beliefs into something called the TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and you can see an example of one of those right here on screen. And it's interesting to explore that example. It says represent 1- and 2-step problems. Now represent is an abstraction, doesn't say solve. It says I want you to think about math and represent a 1- and 2-step problem involving addition and subtraction, whole numbers up to 1,000. And so every year we have students take an assessment to tell how well we have taught that content to them. And it's tightly aligned. Oh, I see Board Member Clark in the room. Thank you for being here. That is tightly aligned with the standards set by the State Board of Education. That when we think that can you represent one or two step problems, addition, subtraction, up to 1,000, you take a look at this problem. An art teacher had 736 crayons. For those of you who are not math whizzes, 736 is a whole number, under 1,000. She threw away 197 broken crayons. We're asking kids to think, can you represent that that is subtraction? She bought another 150 crayons. We're asking you to represent, can you think that that real world problem is an addition problem? And then how do you go about laying this math problem out? This is what we do. Schools exist and must be places where adults love students, where there is discipline, where there is order. But we do not send schools just for them to be housed for the day. They have to learn. They have to learn math, they have to learn science, they have to learn history, they have to learn reading and writing. And that is why we think about this A through F system every year, because we want to reflect on ourselves as adults. We spend somewhere between $85 and $90 billion a year on public school education in this state. And we do this so that the 5.5 million souls in our schools can get the best possible preparation to pursue the American dream. And we evaluate ourselves on how well that is happening with the A through F system. We do this because conventional wisdom will tell you that what is inspected is respected. But we also do this because this has been studied. The accountability system of Texas has actually been evaluated by researchers. And because we do this, because we evaluate our schools in a public way, our students are doing better as a result. And when I say they're doing better, not just on standardized tests, they have higher attendance rates. They have fewer disciplinary problems. The researchers can study the students longitudinally, and by the age of 25, because we are publicly rating our schools, our students are actually making more money than they would have been without this rating system. Doesn't make it easy. Certainly Superintendent Elizalde and her leadership team can attest to this. Having your scores talked about publicly at a press conference is absolutely a moment of success and triumph at a school that earns an A. At a school that does not earn an A, it is a moment of reflection and performance improvement. And this is a difficult leadership environment. But we don't do this out of some grand reason to challenge the system. We do this because our students are better for it, because it causes us to rise up, to become the best versions of ourselves for them. And what you see here at Walnut Hill, what your leadership has produced, what this team, you think the principals, the teachers at this campus, seems like a miracle. But it is just hard work from people who are focused on delivering results for kids. And it shows up in the data. The A through F system here has seen a huge jump in performance in just 1 year. And this is a reflection not of a changed resource environment. We can have debates about how much resources we have or should have or need. But leadership matters. Management matters. The leadership of this board, the leadership of Dr. Elizalde, leadership of Dr. Meeker has produced results for kids. At this school, more students have memorized their times tables than ever before. More students can diagnose a sonnet. More students can debate the causes and consequences of the War of 1812. More students understand our history, and more students can perform well in the future. They are better equipped to pursue the American dream than ever before here at Walnut Hill Elementary. And it is incredible. And it's of all 1,200 school systems in Texas, of all 9,000 campuses in Texas, I could be anywhere today, but I'm here because it does seem a little magical what you have done, but I know there is no magic. We can wait for Superman, but he is not going to come. We have you, and you have delivered. And thank you for the work that you do for our kids. Statewide, when you think about the way that we have designed this system, fundamentally the A through F system is about setting goals for students. That is, in essence, what it is. And you heard Board President talk about the goal-setting process that we go through locally. And it gets nerdy, and it gets detailed, and you can get lost in the weeds. But it's not fundamentally about the goals, it's about what the goals make you do. And in Dallas, this goal-setting process is delivering results. It is designed to evaluate how well our students are performing on grade level. Do you know your times table as a third grader? But we recognize that our kids can come from any number of circumstances into the school. What happens if you have a whole bunch of fourth graders that started the year because of where they came from, because of where they moved, and they were starting as entry-level first graders? It's going to be hard to get them all proficient in fourth grade by the end of the year. So we also evaluate how well those students grew year over year academically. And we will evaluate the school based upon its achievement or proficiency. We will evaluate the school based upon the growth, and then we will give the school the higher of the two overall ratings. We do that for all kids on average. But when you get back to this moral commitment that we have to children, it's also about making sure that not just the average child is served well in school, but every group of students is served well, that no one is being left behind, that everyone is being prepared for the rigors of modern America. And we look at how well the school is in closing the gaps between groups of students that have been historically more at risk than others. And in this school, you see greatness in all three areas. Statewide, what we have seen over the last year, because the A through F system is coming back, because of what it causes us as leaders in our public school system to do, we've seen significant improvement in schools across the state of Texas. Last year, only 18% of campuses would have received an A. This year, 23% of campuses statewide did receive an A. This represents not numbers on a chart, because that's what you see. It represents the lives of hundreds of thousands of young people. Kids that, as you walk the halls here at Walnut Hill, you can look them in the eye and you can shake their hands, and they are walking taller than they used to. They are being better prepared for America than they used to. This is what we see here in Dallas, and we've seen it in improvements all over the state. It is something worth celebrating. When I think about some of those improvements, some of them are really pretty extraordinary. We actually had 5 schools statewide that were an F and became an A in 1 year. It is a remarkable turnaround. And again, not because of some metamorphosis, not because of a dump truck of money showed up at the campus, but because administrators and teachers worked together, rolled up their sleeves, said we're going to have great curriculum, we're going to focus on results, we're going to make sure that every kid is held to high expectations every day, and we are going to ensure that our kids achieve success. We had 20 campuses go from a D to an F statewide, another 95 here that went from a C to an A in 1 year. This is extraordinary improvements, and we should shout from the rooftops. This is a way of celebration. I sometimes hear people say the A through F system is punitive. No one who earned an A says it's punitive. These are accurate reflections of performance, and it's an accurate reflection of how well we have supported our students. And an A is what was delivered here at Walnut Hill and for, another 90 campuses here in Dallas, which is nothing short of extraordinary. And as a former school board member in Dallas, Dallas has incredible pockets of wealth, and it's one of the greatest cities in the greatest state, in the greatest nation on this planet. But it also has many families who struggle, who suffer from all the problems that one can suffer from in this life. And we take all of those kids in our school as our kids and take responsibility for them. And there are people that say, well, this, they will just perform to that demographic norm of that neighborhood. But I'm here to tell you that poverty is not destiny. Dallas has proven it. They've proven it here at Walnut Hill Elementary. We have 361 campuses around the state of Texas where more than 80% of students need federal support to eat on a regular basis. And yet, those campuses received an A rating in our A through F system because their administrative team, their boards, their teachers are focused on delivering life-changing results for those kids and that entire community. It is remarkable that what can be true in public education as the great equalizer, if we, as educators, deliver for our kids. And that is what's happening in schools all over the state of Texas. It is clearly what's happening at schools here in Dallas. We do this because it helps us as school leaders to improve. We also do this because moms and dads deserve this information. I am not just commissioner, I'm also a client. I've got 4 kids, and I want to know that I have found the best schools for my kids. I want to know how to advocate for my kids to get a better education at the schools that they are enrolled in. And so today, you can visit texasschools.gov and search any school in the state of Texas. You can plug in your home address and see how all the schools are working in your area. You'll be able to see exactly how that school worked. This is clearly not Walnut Hill because Walnut Hill got an A. But you can go and check any school that you want in the state and see exactly how they perform. You can also see how they perform over time. You know, one of the things that it's important for us as leaders of the system to recognize, we do not live in a utopia. It will never be perfect. We are all fallen, flawed creatures in this world, but what we can commit to is getting better. How do we make sure that next year is better than last year? And we use this A through F performance management system to, in fact, get better over time. When you go to texasschools.gov, you can see the performance history of each campus in the state. And in this particular example, you see this school got a little bit better year over year. Now, the school that we're at right here got a lot better year over year. And this is worthy of celebration. We should give them a raise, by the way. But that's an important part of this equation. Now, we have not issued ratings for the last 2 years really on time. So today, when you go to texasschools.gov, you'll be able to see this year's ratings and last year's ratings at the same time. So you can see that performance trend over the last 2 years, the last 3 years, the last 4 years. Because, again, it's not about the goal, it's what the goal makes you do. We want to make sure that parents are empowered to own the education of their children, to find the best fit school, to advocate for the school that they're enrolled in to get better. But we want to have this so that boards can reflect on this. I, as a board member, always thought about the A through F system as the most useful tool I would ever have because I needed to quickly discern, are the schools in my districts the same? Are they better? Are they worse? And so we want parents to have access to this. We want policymakers to have access to this. As a parent, you can go, again, you can type in your home address and you can filter. I want to see, within a 5-mile radius of my house, what are all the schools? I want to look at A schools. I want to look at A and B schools. I want to look at schools with specific academic programs like trilingual immersion. Can I filter and find a place for my kid to learn English and Spanish and Mandarin at the same time, coming home saying ni hao? So that this can happen at Walnut Hill, but it doesn't happen everywhere. So we want to have that information so that parents can find that information and find the best educational opportunity for themselves, their kids, their family, what meets their needs. We have all of this information on our website now and more. You can really nerd out and spend hours and hours of your time trying to diagnose this. But we want to make it simple for families. We want to allow our education reporters in the room to nerd out as you do. And for board members, they clearly need access to all of the most useful information as possible to understand how big of a pay raise they need to give to Dr. Elizalde given these results that they've achieved. So with that, I'm happy to entertain questions. It is an honor to be here in this school today, in Dallas ISD today, to see such tremendous improvements, life-changing improvements in the lives of our young people.
Hi, if I may ask about Fort Worth ISD while you're in North Texas. Based on any information released today, I'm just wondering, can you talk about the situation there and the possibility of a state takeover?
Sure. Our state has some laws that really codify a moral commitment to children. We talked about the high expectations, the existence of the A through F system. One of those laws is, I think, predicated on a creed that many of y'all will recognize, but that you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. And that basic legal structure says, no matter how good your campuses are around the city, if one of your schools in your school district is academically unacceptable for at least 5 consecutive years, then whoever the Commissioner of Education is must take action to remedy that situation. You cannot have a situation where an entire generation of children are left to languish without even a modicum of an effective education. And Fort Worth, unfortunately, has reached that milestone at one of its campuses, and in fact, several of its campuses have many, many years of academically unacceptable behavior. And just to put that in perspective, if 37% of kids are on grade level in a campus, that campus is not academically unacceptable. This is not a particularly high bar. So Fort Worth has reached that milestone. Fort Worth has some significant challenges in terms of helping students reach grade level. They have seen some improvements, and those improvements are visible today in the performance reports. This is the reason why it's important to have an A through F system. I'm certainly looking at that as I take into account the decision that I'm required to make under law. I'll be visiting Fort Worth classrooms here within a month. I want to see how students are experiencing instruction on the ground. Regular conversations with the leadership team there. We have not made any final decision yet. We will be making a decision sometime in the coming months. Yes, sir.
Staying with Fort Worth, if you look at the data that was released today, there was a massive improvement in terms of the number of F-rated campuses between 2023 and 2024, predating the existing leadership. And there's so much focus on what this existing leadership is doing to change the direction of Fort Worth. Is it fair to say, based on the numbers that were released today, that this district was improving already?
I think it is fair to say, based upon the data that we see today, that Fort Worth is a little bit better in the most recent year than it was the year before, which is what you want to see. You want to see improvement. The question is whether or not improvement is happening fast enough and wide enough to meaningfully impact the lives of students in Fort Worth. Fort Worth has very significant academic challenges. Their level of grade level proficiency is materially lower than Dallas, even though their demographics are not any different. And so we need to see the quality of schools improve and improve rapidly. Kids only get one shot at first grade.
Dallas ISD submitted rescore requests for thousands of STAR tests earlier this year, and that resulted in 5 schools receiving higher official ADF ratings than internal projections. I understand those rescorings are part of the process, but it does come at a cost to the district. What is your response to those kind of ADF ratings? Do you have any concerns about the way?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's just evidence that the system is working. You know, grading a multiple choice test is one thing. People look at an A or a B or a C and everybody agrees. Grading writing is a little bit different. Sometimes people disagree. We have an unbelievable level of transparency in terms of how things are graded and how the assignments look. Parents can see exactly how their kids performed and literally what the kid's essay was. So can all the administrators. We encourage districts to review and reflect on this, and if they see any discrepancies, then we encourage them to send it. There is no cost when we rescore an item. There's only a cost if an item does not actually change. So this is just a great example of how our system is designed to provide as accurate a performance feedback as possible. You won't be able to rescore your kid's SAT test. That doesn't happen. You don't get to rescore the AP exam either. Doesn't happen. We do that because we believe in making sure that we give our schools, our educators, our parents access to the most information possible, and you see that the system is working. I want to thank Dr. Elizalde for helping us. The feedback that we get from the field is the same kind of feedback that we believe in, which is how do we make sure that we get better year in, year out in support of our students and our teachers. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioner. On Fort Worth ISD again, families will pick up their lives and move to different parts of the state or the Metroplex have their children in these specific schools. What would you say to families who feel it's unfair to have a potential state takeover because of one struggling school?
I think if you look at the history of the interventions that we've done in Texas, what you've seen is that the results have only been that the schools have gotten better. What you want to do when you're leading a school system is where you see excellence occurring, you want that excellence to continue, and you don't want to disrupt that at all. Where you see students for whom we as adults have abdicated our moral responsibility to teach them reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, that has to change, and it has to change quickly. So the question of who's in charge is very different than the question of whether children are being well educated. But leadership does matter. So our job is to give those families access to the best and highest quality schools possible. We want every local school board to do that. Unfortunately, in cases where a school board has failed to be able to do that, like has occurred in Fort Worth, then the question is, how do we turn those schools around as rapidly as possible for those families? Yes, sir.
You mentioned campus visits at Fort Worth ISD. What are you hoping to see there? What are you going to be doing?
Well, so for people who aren't, do not spend all of your life in education, this business is hard. If you have been born with skills in math and want to do something with your life, you are welcome to throw your life away and work in investment banking. But if you really want to make a difference and sign up for the hardest work imaginable, then be a teacher, be a principal. Because the job of molding eager young minds is neurosurgery performed on 20 patients simultaneously with no anesthesia. It does take a trained eye to then evaluate what are the leadership systems in place in a campus. Are they designed to ensure that every classroom and classroom teacher is properly supported? When you look at the curricular experiences that the students have, is it on grade level? Is it challenging? Does it have some basis in cognitive science? Is it capable for students to learn the history or the writing or the science of the lesson? Or won't it work at all? Is it below grade level? Is the instruction delivered so that all the children are engaging in the lesson? If you think about this actually as if it were a class and you are the students and I am a teacher, I can tell you one thing: I am doing a lousy job delivering instruction because I have no idea whether the 3 or 4 people in the back that are not paying attention to me are understanding anything that is happening at this press conference. And a teacher doesn't just give a speech. They got to make sure everybody in the audience learns every aspect of that speech. And so you have to see that happening. You have to have evidence that that is occurring. And where you see that it does not happen, because we are human and we will fail periodically, you need to know that that school system is sophisticated enough to redirect that so that it gets fixed. That is what I'm looking for when I'm in Fort Worth, is evidence that we have a very strong set of supports so that children, not just in one classroom, but in every classroom, in every building, can learn every day. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lacey Beasley with CBS Texas. I have talked to districts who are A-rated, who still don't put a lot of stock in these ratings because they feel like it pins districts against each other. What do you say to the campuses and to the districts who may not put a lot of thought into the A through F ratings, who may not think that it's a reliable reflection of how their district is performing? Yeah,
I mean, I hear this a lot, but we value whether or not students are learning how to read and write. And so we use a statewide assessment to determine whether they are in fact learning how to read and write. We value whether students are learning mathematics. And we use a statewide assessment to determine whether or not they are in fact learning mathematics. That is not everything that happens in a school. I'm a dad. I want my kids to learn how to read, write, and do math. I want them to grow in their character. I want them to be healthy. I want them to have forgiveness in their hearts. But many of those things I can do at home. I send them to school to make sure they're learning how to read, write, and do math. I also want to make sure that they're getting engaged in career preparation opportunities in high school. I'm a Texas public school kid, went to Garland High School. Garland did right by me. I had 3 years of computer science and a year of typing. Don't sleep on my typing skills. So like they did right by me. So I want to make sure that that kind of opportunity is offered in our school systems as well. And so we evaluate how well is the school producing students that have, great scores on the AP tests when they're going off to college. If they're going to go into career, how many kids are learning how to weld? How many kids are being prepared for a career that can take care of themselves and their family? If the students wish to enlist in the U.S. military, how many of them can actually make it through boot camp? So it's a broad set of things that we evaluate in the performance of a school, which isn't to say that is everything that a school does. But if you don't do that well, that's got to get turned around pretty quickly. And if you do that well, then by all means, raise the bar in your local community. We allow school systems to actually adjust how A through F is calculated so that if they wish to do that, they can prioritize different aspects of what's happening in their campuses. But the thing about that is if you are a school system that does that, your rating might actually go down with this slightly more accurate appraisal of performance. And it certainly takes a leader with bold vision that is willing to set the bar that high for kids in their community. And so we have a very accurate and broadly set A through F system. I know that many people that are in public don't appreciate the fact that their performance evaluation is in the front page of the paper, but it is important for us to get a sense of how effective we are supporting our kids.
Get time for a couple more.
Yes, ma'am.
The Texas legislature currently looking to possibly get rid of the STAR test, replace it with 3 separate exams throughout the year. Do we know how that may affect accountability ratings, if at all, should the Texas legislature be successful in getting rid of the STAR test?
Yeah, to some extent it's hard to answer the question because I don't know until there's a passed piece of legislation. The piece of legislation that they have been debating now would set up a transition to this new assessment environment. We would still have an A through F system, and the agency would be required to equate the level of rigor from the old test to the new test, in which case you're still going to have A through F ratings, and they're reflective accurately of the same level of performance now. The new test design would hopefully dial down some issues of anxiety that sometimes happen as an unintended consequence, and give more rapid feedback to our educators and our parents, and those would both be great changes.
Just to piggyback on that, in talking to administrators and lawmakers who've had different opinions on the legislation, one of the things they seem to have common ground on is while you can disagree on how to hold accountable, there is a feeling that there is so much weight put on the current system on STAR, and they seem to agree that there needs to be a change in the weight that STAR has and the consequences it has for schools. Do you have a thought or opinion on that?
Sure. Yeah, we've attempted to evaluate this pretty extensively. At high school, you don't really actually, that's not really an accurate statement. At high school, there's 5 different STAR tests, mind you, and of course you actually get 10 different assessments on that because you look at growth as well as proficiency. But you have about 300 different indicators of industry recognition. You have another dozen or 2 dozen indicators of college readiness. You have graduation rates. There's a bunch of different things. In terms of STAR tests, you have 13 different STAR tests that are evaluated both in terms of that 1 year's performance, but there's also a year-over-year growth. So whenever anybody says it's just one grade, just one test one day, that's not accurate. That's not the way the A3 system works. So it's multiple tests over multiple days, over multiple years that are all rolled into this. But this gets back to some basic public policy questions as to what do we prioritize. What if you're in a school that their PE program is producing extraordinary levels of physical fitness among the students, but nobody can read? How do you evaluate the performance of that school? So these are, I think, fundamental questions that boards face, that policymakers in Austin face. And what we do know is that in order for students to gain access to the wonders of modern America, to truly be engaged citizens, they need to read and write and do so coherently, correctly, and well. And they need to do math and they need to do so with proficiency no matter what they're doing. As someone who doesn't have basic algebraic proficiency, can have a hard time getting a mortgage. So these are things that are important. So I think reasonable people can disagree on the breadth of indicators that one should evaluate. We're certainly interested in that. When I do school visits, I look for a lot of different things that are going on in schools. Some things we can measure with some precision, some things we can't. And so if we add additional ways to evaluate performance, then great. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you being here today. For the team here at Walnut Hill, for the team at Dallas, y'all have done work that is extraordinary for kids, and it will echo for generations to come. God bless.